Episode 1. In this world, people can acquire extraordinary abilities by consuming the fruits of the skill tree. With some luck, one might become a firebender or even a sword saint. However, Light's fate was far from glorious. He became nothing more than a nutmaster. On a long green pasture, two young people are walking and talking. On the day when skills were bestowed, Light and his childhood friend, Lena, eagerly made their way to the church for the ceremony. Light had always dreamed of becoming an adventurer and hoped for a combat skill, while Lena was content with any ability as long as she could stay by his side. The anticipation was nerve-wracking since no one knew what skill they would receive until they ate the fruit. Light, however, was confident they would both gain something amazing and become the greatest adventurers ever. Fast forward to the present, we see Light leading an uneventful life as a farmer, happy about his new batch of fruit. But he soon throws his hat on the ground. This isn't the life he wanted. His current life was the result of the skill he had been given. 3 months ago at the church, the Holy Sister explained how the skill fruits worked. Eating one would grant an ability that guaranteed a job in the related field, without the burden of student debt. However, there was a strict rule. A person could only consume one fruit in their lifetime. Eating a second one was fatal, and many had died attempting to gain a better skill. The Holy Sister made this clear, emphasizing the 100% fatality rate. Lena was shocked by the risks, looking at Light for confirmation. Light nodded but reassured her that as long as she didn't eat a second fruit, she had nothing to fear. With that, it was time to choose. Lena went first, taking a bite of a fruit that immediately triggered a powerful reaction. A blinding light engulfed her, and her body radiated heat. The Holy Sister recognized it instantly. Lena had acquired the legendary Sword Saint skill, an incredibly rare ability destined to make her one of the nation's greatest adventurers. The church's staff was overwhelmed by witnessing such a talent, as they never expected a true saint to be chosen. Light was genuinely thrilled for Lena, but now it was his turn. Selecting his fruit with care, he hoped for a strong combat skill to fight alongside her. However, the moment he ate it, his heart sank. His newfound ability was Nutmaster. The Holy Sister tried to be encouraging, but it was clear his future battles would involve pests in the fields rather than monsters like an adventurer. Devastated, Light asked if he could try again, but the Holy Sister was firm. The 100% fatality rate was absolute. Lena tried to comfort him, even offering to stay in the village and farm alongside him, but the Holy Sister refused to let her waste her extraordinary talent. As a sword saint, she was needed elsewhere. Without giving her a choice, the Holy Sister took Lena to the royal capital for training. Though heartbroken, Lena promised to return for Light one day. Months passed. Light accepted his new reality, focusing on farming. Using his abilities, he cultivated high-quality nuts and sold them in town, but quickly grew frustrated as this was not what he wanted. Though his life wasn't terrible, he couldn't shake the feeling of failure. One day, he saw a poster announcing Lena's promotion to S rank, proving how far she had come. Though happy for her, it only reminded him of his shortcomings. While walking home, he saw two kids that reminded him of how Lena and he had fries and he had wished to be together always. He had been training every day, desperately hoping to keep up with natural combat ability if he couldn't unlock a combat skill, but all he had to show for it were bruised wrists. As doubt consumed him, he wondered if Lena even remembered him anymore. Just then, a young girl named Ayla approached him with a cup of water. An orphan abandoned by the village chief, Ayla had been left on Light's doorstep, with the elder forcing him to take care of her. With nowhere else to go, she had been living with him ever since. That night, over dinner, Light casually warned Ayla not to eat the skill fruits he had carefully sorted and marked with red X skull symbols. Unfortunately, his warning came too late. She had already used them in the stew they were eating. Panic set in. He remembered the warning from the angry nun. Consuming a second skill fruit was supposed to be fatal. As Light's body heated up and pain surged through his chest, he braced himself for death. He apologized to Ayla, blaming himself for expecting her to understand labels when she couldn't read. However, as moments passed, he realized something was off. He was still alive, having overreacted. Confused, Light sat up, unharmed. Ayla, also feeling strange, suddenly gained the ability to see floating text describing Light's skill. She read aloud. Not only was he the Nut Master, but his skill also granted him complete immunity to nut-based poisons. More shockingly, he'd acquired a second ability, Sword God. The Sword God skill dramatically enhanced his attack power and magic resistance. If Ayla was right, this meant Light's dream of becoming an adventurer might not be over after all. Eager to test his new strength, he rushed outside, raised his sword, and with a single swing, split a tree stump, as well as the massive tree behind it. At that moment, it became clear. Light was now overpowered. The next day, filled with excitement, Light headed to the Adventurers Guild with Ayla. This was his chance to finally become an adventurer. He started to teach the young girl the basics of task completion, leading to rewards, then went to register. While Ayla marveled at the different abilities of the guild members, such as martial arts, enemy detection, fire, and even seduction skills, Light bumped into a group of adventurers. The blonde man was agitated, but then recognized Light, mocking him for being a mere nut seller. One of them, Jean, tried to intimidate him, but when he attacked, Light easily blocked the strike with his enhanced reflexes. Realizing Light was no ordinary farmer, Jean's friends convinced him to back off. After registering for a quest, Light and Ayla traveled to the Rocky Plains, where they encountered their first monster, a slime. Light carefully approached but quickly abandoned stealth, opting for a direct attack. His swing effortlessly sliced through the slime and the ground beneath it, proving just how powerful he had become. Ayla congratulated him, though she was hesitant about cutting up the slime's remains. However, once Light mentioned they could sell the parts for enough money to buy pizza, she quickly discarded her morals and got to work. Suddenly, they heard shouts nearby. Rushing over, they found Jean and his crew under attack by a massive ogre. They had taken on a simple quest, expecting only to fight a slime, but now they were completely outmatched. Jean, being the amazing person he was, planned to lead the ogre straight to Light and the little girl. The ogre swung its weapon at them. Ayla told Light he could win, and he believed her. With Ayla pointing out the ogre's weakness, Light managed to break its weapon. Determined to reach his childhood friend, he defeated the ogre, with Jean and his friends looking on. Jean's friends, attempting to make up for their past behavior, tried to ingratiate themselves with Light by confirming his accomplishments to the receptionist. He had gained their respect through power, causing a large commotion. The excitement escalated when the legendary sword saint, Lena, arrived. However, when Light called out to her, she completely ignored their past relationship, acting as if he were a stranger. The girl is now a part of the top team, the S-Rank Party Sacred. The leaders are Godspeed Grouse, Strongarm Eirik, Raging Flame Serum, and Lena. The men have hearts in their eyes, as she's the #1 female adventurer, admired for both her strength and beauty. However, Lena now has a completely different personality, acting more like a refined noblewoman rather than the country bumpkin she used to be. Light is left standing in shock, his mouth hanging open. Ayla, unaware of what's bothering him, tries to cheer him up by suggesting they go out for pizza. Light agrees and takes Ayla to get some, but his gloomy mood persists. Frustrated, Ayla warns him that if he doesn't snap out of it soon, she'll eat all the pizza herself. Since Light spent a lot of money on it, he refuses to let it go to waste, even if he's upset about Lena. However, he eats so fast that he ends up choking. Luckily, a stranger hands him a glass of water, and when he looks up to thank them, he's shocked to see it's Lena in a hoodie. Before he can call out her name, Lena covers his mouth, telling him to stay quiet or Grouse will hear them. She sits at the table, and Ayla introduces herself, meeting Lena for the first time. Lena is about to ask how Light managed to have a kid in only 3 months, but before she can, he cuts her off and asks what she's doing there. Lena is equally surprised to see him, as she never expected to run into him at the guild. Proudly, Light tells her that he and Ayla have become adventurers, sharing the story of how he gained a second skill through the skill fruit incident. Lena seems genuinely happy for him, knowing that he's finally on the path to achieving his dream. Light then asks Lena about her experience with the S-Rank Party, Sacred, but from her expression, it's clear she's not enjoying it. She explains that she's forced to fight alongside random people chosen by the Holy Sister. While the pay is great, the atmosphere is toxic, worse than a Call of Duty lobby. She warns Light to stay away from Sacred if he wants to enjoy being an adventurer. Light is confused since he's always heard good things about the group. However, Lena recalls an incident 2 months ago when they fought a giant serpent. Knowing serpents are weak to fire, Grouse ordered the mage to attack with fire magic. The mage complied but went overboard, accidentally setting a nearby farm ablaze. When Lena tried to bring it up, hoping to stop the fire, Grouse showed no concern, believing their only job was to kill the serpent. He dismissed the destruction as collateral damage. When she went to speak with the Holy Sister about this, the Holy Sister was even worse. She didn't care how much property was destroyed or how many peasants died, as long as history remembered them as heroes. Lena doesn't reveal Sacred's twisted ideals to Light, but he can tell she's unhappy. He invites her to join him and Ayla, but despite wanting to, she refuses due to circumstances preventing her from leaving Sacred. Even though she insists she's fine, Light can see her tears. Not wanting to drag him into her problems, she leaves the table. Later, Light goes to the front desk to claim his reward for defeating the ogre and is handed 10,000 gold pieces, more money than he's ever seen. Yet, he feels no excitement, as his mind is consumed with worry for Lena. He realizes he can't help her unless he figures out what Sacred is forcing her to do. Since Lena won't tell him directly, Ayla suggests they ask Grouse, whose lounge door happens to be wide open. Inside, Grouse is boasting to two women about his legendary battles. He recounts a recent mission where his party hunted an evil grizzly, torching it with a massive inferno before he delivered the finishing blow. Just then, the receptionist enters to inform him that the villagers from that mission have lodged a complaint. The fire attack dried up their reservoir, leaving them without water. Grouse brushes off the complaint, claiming collateral damage is unavoidable. Deep down, though, he enjoys causing trouble for those he deems weak. Light, overhearing the conversation, becomes furious. He knows Lena would never ignore the suffering of innocent people. Confronting Grouse, he demands that he release Lena from Sacred, seeing how unhappy she is. Grouse, remembering how Lena acted toward Light, mockingly calls him an overzealous fan. Unimpressed, he calls security to have Light removed. Other adventurers warn Light that angering Grouse means getting on the Holy Sister's bad side, which could end his adventuring career. The next day, Sacred gathers in the lounge, indulging in self-praise and the gifts the Holy Sister gives them. Meanwhile, Lena reflects on Light's words about leaving if she's unhappy. Summoning her courage, she announces that she wants to live by her own moral code and is leaving Sacred immediately. However, as she walks toward the exit, Grouse suddenly blocks her path with alarming speed and threatens to kill her for defying him. Lena reaches for her sword, but hesitates. She knows even with her Sword Saint skill, she can't defeat Grouse alone. Forced to submit, she lowers her hand and Grouse strikes her to the floor. He then gives a speech about persevering for the greater good, claiming she must fight for their cause until she dies in battle. That same day, as Sacred prepares to leave town, Lena resigns herself to a life under Grouse's control. However, their departure is suddenly blocked by Light. Grouse demands to know why he's in the way, and Light boldly declares that he's here to take back his friend. He invites Lena to hunt monsters with him and Ayla, reminding her of their promise to become adventurers together. Lena remembers their promise and longs to go with him, but she lacks the strength to defy Grouse. She pleads with Light to leave before he gets hurt. Grouse tries to dismiss him, but Light refuses to back down. Instead, he challenges Grouse to a duel for Lena's freedom. Grouse initially refuses, but Light taunts him, questioning if he's afraid of losing. Unable to ignore such public disrespect, Grouse agrees. However, he sets a condition. If Light loses, he will be permanently banned from the Adventurers Guild. Without hesitation, Light accepts. Lena begs him to reconsider, fearing he stands no chance. Grouse draws his sword, and Ayla warns Light about his Godspeed skill, which allows him to close distances instantly. Light readies his sword, claiming his skills are Nutmaster and Sword God. Grouse doesn't believe him. No one can have two skills. The fight begins, and Light barely reacts in time to block Grouse's attacks. Forced on the defensive, he struggles to keep up with Grouse's speed. Eventually, Grouse shatters Light's sword, seemingly securing his victory. Feeling generous, Grouse offers to spare Light if Lena swears eternal loyalty to him. However, Light assures Lena that he'll win no matter what. Seeing his determination, Lena puts her faith in him. Annoyed, Grouse prepares to end the fight, but Light, now weaponless, grabs a broom from a bystander. Grouse assumes he's being mocked, but Light is serious. He visualizes the broom as a sword and focuses entirely on his instincts. When Grouse dashes forward, Light reacts instantly, striking him so hard with the broom that he's sent flying into a wall, knocked out cold. With Light's victory, Sacred loses their claim over Lena. Light warns them that if they come after her again, they'll have to deal with him. Turning to Lena, he tells her she's finally free and invites her to join his party. This time, she happily accepts. A week later, Light has returned to his usual routine, tending to his nuts, but now lives in a nice estate and garden with Lena by his side, making him happier. While eating lunch, Lena asks about his injuries from the duel, but Light reassures her he's fine and ready to go on missions with her. However, their problems aren't over. The Holy Sister has been sending messengers all week, trying to convince Lena to return and talk to her in person to force her back. Lena refuses all attempts. Since they've earned her wrath, they're now blacklisted, only getting the worst adventuring jobs like exterminating sewer rats. Though these quests barely pay, making the receptionist who knows the truth feel awful, Lena doesn't mind. She finds fulfillment in helping people, whether rebuilding homes, clearing sewers, or finding lost pets, earning praise from the people. Even after a full day's work, they only earn enough for a few pizzas, but she's genuinely happy because for the first time, she's making a real difference. Light, seeing her smile, realizes that despite the hardships, they're finally free. In the dark chamber of the Holy Sister, she's devised a plan to kill off Light and Ayla, forcing Lena back to them by giving them an S-rank quest. Episode 3. As Light and his party embark on their latest quest, they struggle through an incredibly dense fog, making it nearly impossible to see their path. Uncertain of their location, Light turns to Lena for confirmation, and she reassures him after consulting the map, stating they should be nearing the mansion. Suddenly, Light's horse rears up, nearly throwing him off as they finally come upon their destination. However, it becomes clear that the horse won't be able to go any further. Earlier that day, Light and his group had just arrived at the guild to select their next quest when they found the receptionist already waiting for them with a special assignment. Without knowing what it was, Light says that the party of Luxaria will handle it. Relieved to see Lena's party, she urged them to accept the mission, emphasizing its urgency for everyone's safety. However, she admitted that there was little information about the situation, only that an adventuring party had vanished in Monty Valley, and every effort to investigate their disappearance had ended in more adventurers mysteriously going missing. Alarmingly, both A and B rank adventurers had fallen victim to this phenomenon, suggesting an immensely powerful force was at work. The receptionist provided a list of the missing adventurers, and to Lena's shock, she recognized them as the very people who had mentored her when she first started adventuring. This made her deeply concerned for their fate. The only clue they had was that all the missing adventurers were last seen visiting the abandoned mansion of Count Monty, a legendary adventurer who had amassed great wealth before retiring. While there were no records of his abilities, he had died over 30 years ago, making his money adventuring and left the mansion to decay. Lena hesitated to accept the mission, knowing even seasoned adventurers had vanished without a trace. However, Light was thrilled about visiting Monty Valley, and with the promise of a generous reward, even Ayla was on board, motivated by the thought of buying more pizza. The receptionist, noticing Ayla's presence, questioned whether it was wise to bring her along. Light defended her role, explaining that Ayla was a reliable appraiser. When pressed on how she had skills at such a young age, he casually revealed that she had accidentally eaten a skill-granting fruit, but had survived without issue. With that, the group set off toward Monty Valley. Back in the present, navigating a precarious mountain path with a steep drop below, Light reminds Ayla to be careful. As he gazes at the massive mansion ahead, he finds it hard to believe that someone could have accumulated such wealth from adventuring alone. Lena, however, isn't too surprised. Despite only being an adventurer for a few months, she has already saved enough to buy a house, as it's common for BS rank adventurers to do so. Light, inspired, dreams of building a grand home of his own, complete with orchards and a training ground. Ayla agrees, caught up in the excitement, and jumps up frantically, declaring her desire to build a candy house. But in her enthusiasm, she jumps onto the ledge, only for it to crumble beneath her. As Ayla plummets, Light reacts instantly, grabbing her hand just in time, only to lose his own balance and fall with her. Lena attempts to pull them back, but she too gets dragged down, sending the entire group tumbling. Thinking fast, Light slashes through the air with his sword, generating enough wind pressure to slow their descent. Thanks to his quick thinking, they all land safely. However, survival doesn't mean they're out of danger. Lena and Ayla soon realize they are surrounded by zombie-like figures. Light, unfazed, charges forward and effortlessly slashes one of the creatures in half. Yet, as Lena and Ayla observe more closely, they make a horrifying discovery. The creatures are not ordinary monsters. Light freezes as the truth sinks in. These undead were once adventurers, with him killing one of them. Ayla quickly uses her gauging skill, confirming that the adventurers were turned into undead after being bitten. She warns them not to get bitten as they'll turn into zombies if they do. Worse yet, they have retained their original skills, making them formidable foes. Light struggles with the revelation, unable to reconcile his excitement for combat with the knowledge that he is fighting former humans. Distracted by his moral dilemma, he nearly gets bitten, only for Lena to step in and save him. She acknowledges his hesitation, but reminds him that as adventurers, it is their duty to put their fallen comrades to rest. Understanding her words, Light steels himself and agrees to fight. However, for now, their priority is to retreat into the mansion in hopes of finding survivors. Inside, they are met with even more undead. Lena takes the lead, cutting through them with precise strikes. Light, impressed by her knowledge of monster weaknesses, realizes that despite his more powerful sword god skill, her experience and technique surpass his own. Determined to contribute, he joins the fight. As they battle through the undead, Light makes a critical mistake. He leaves Ayla unguarded. This is why she should have stayed home. An undead ambushes her, but before it can strike, Lena swiftly eliminates it. Ayla is awestruck by Lena's skill, but Lena reminds herself to stay vigilant, proving to both of them that they're terrible guardians. Light's slip-up could have cost Ayla her life, and Lena has nothing negative to say about him. Swearing to fight with a clear head from now on, Light resolves to ensure they all make it out alive. With the first floor cleared, Lena suggests moving to the second. However, Light brings up a disturbing realization. They were sent here because 18 adventurers had gone missing, yet they have already fought far more than that. This suggests that the mansion was already overrun with undead before the recent disappearances, an unsettling prospect. As they ascend the stairs, Light notices a painting of Count Monty and feels an eerie sensation. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the mansion, a girl dances under the spotlight, watching them with anticipation, eager to find creative ways to kill Light. As they explore the second floor, they are ambushed once again. Ayla's gauging reveals that these undead are different. They are being controlled. Light soon notices something behind them, a thread. He believes they should follow the magical threads connected to the undead to see who's behind all this. The threads lead the group to a grand ballroom where all the threads converge. Upon entering, they find themselves face to face with the mastermind, a young woman in a revealing lingerie dress. She calls herself One Wing of the Black Swan, an elite force of darkness. Her name is Dratena. Initially relieved to see a living person, Light quickly realizes she is anything but friendly. Ayla appraises her and discovers her skill, necromancy. Dratena is visibly irritated by Ayla's ability to uncover her secrets so easily and contemplates eliminating her first. Before she can act, Light questions whether she is working for the guild, hoping to avoid a fight. Dratena denies any affiliation, stating that her sole reason for being here is to kill Light. Confused, Light insists he has never met her, but Dratena clarifies that she has no personal grudge. She was simply ordered to kill him. When asked who gave the order, she says it's a secret. Dratena tries to separate the Holy Saint from Light while he fights the zombie adventurers. As they are separated, Lena freezes when she sees her teachers, now turned into zombies. She is warned about these being special zombies as they retain their abilities. Brock has the claw ability, with extended nails. His wife has Mirror Strike, allowing her to create an image of herself to confuse the enemy and attack twice. Struggling to keep up, Lena barely manages to defend herself thanks to Ayla's guidance. Frustrated by Ayla's interference, Dratena sends an undead to kill her. This time, Light is ready. He rushes in, grabbing Ayla and vowing to protect her. However, fighting while ensuring her safety proves difficult. Dratena relentlessly sends undead after him, seizing every opportunity to target Ayla directly. Meanwhile, Lena battles with her conflicted emotions. Bor and Shira had been her mentors, the first to show her kindness when she arrived at the Holy City. But now she has no choice. If she wants to save Ayla and help Light, she must end them. Determined, Lena cuts the threads controlling her former mentors, severing their connection to Dratena. She can now hear their voices, speaking to her and telling her she's doing the right thing by freeing them through defeat. A tear slips down her face as she says goodbye to her mentors. Light is confused by the size of this undead army and asks Ayla if the caster created them, but the girl tells him that she only controls the undead in her area. Still, this doesn't make sense to Light, as this place is a mansion, not a battlefield or cemetery. So, how did it collect so many bodies? Seeing how much of an impact the little girl is having on the battle, the necromancer makes a move to target her, but Light defends Ayla. Light calls her a coward for doing this, but Dratena reminds him that there are no rules to a fight, showing how clueless he is. With the army of undead closing in on them, Light is unable to fight freely because he brought a child to the battlefield. Episode 4. Back in the fight, he tells Ayla to hold on tight. This confuses Dratena, but what Light does next is even more shocking. He jumps high into the air, grabbing hold of the chandelier with one hand, while Ayla uses her skill to analyze the situation. While she's doing this, Light shows how weak he is physically, starting to get tired from holding them up. This makes Ayla blush, reminding him that she's a child and weighs nothing. She gets off topic, admitting that she's eaten a lot of pizza lately, but isn't fat. Light yells at her to hurry up and use her skill to appraise the situation. This is when Ayla notices the undead in the back, recognizing that it has a special skill called Summon. Light recognizes this person as the Count of Monty. Dratena is annoyed, as it seems they figured out the secret behind her trick. Light then notices something else strange. On the balcony platform, overseeing the scene, is a dark figure. It looks like a death god compared to the others, exuding an oppressive aura. Ayla is able to identify it as a soul reaper. She reads off its description, stating that it is very dangerous, as it's the one able to turn normal humans into undead. One hit from it, and it's game over. With a swing of its scythe, the monster produces black sludge and flings it at the two. Light jumps down from the chandelier and grimaces as he notices the after effects of the toxic sludge. Ayla realizes that Ms. Dratena is controlling high-level undead monsters. Dratena reveals that it was actually the Count who originally summoned the Soul Reaper. She finds it ironic that the once famous adventurer summoned this monster, only to be turned into an undead by it. With Light now able to understand how this all happened, he realizes that people went missing because the Count summoned the Soul Reaper. One by one, average-level adventurers were summoned here, not knowing they would be turned into undead by the Soul Reaper. He knowingly summoned people just to turn them into monsters. Dratena laughs, saying the man was quite wicked. Light doesn't understand why he would do this. Dratena frowns as Light once again shows how naive he is, only able to see the bright parts of the world. Light doesn't know what she's getting at, and Dratena decides to inform him about taboo skills in their society, skills that cause people to ostracize them or hate them, simply because they were randomly given the skill. As the Count was one of these people, he was once praised by the villagers for being a kind, respectable hero. However, when ugly-looking monsters appeared one day, their opinion changed. They became afraid that this power would one day be used against them. Consumed by fear, the people filed complaints to the government, and they were able to put distance between themselves and the Count. The people even went as far as to accuse him of treason. But the harassment didn't stop. Soon, assassination attempts were made on him, even though he had relocated to this isolated area. Recently, he had been attacked by a party of adventurers who lied, claiming they were on a monster extermination mission. The Count, tired of all the attacks, summoned a monster to defend himself, creating the Reaper, with the Reaper then creating an army for the Count. Light is stunned, as he didn't know the guild had assassination squads. Satisfied that his naive outlook is being shattered, Dratena claps, signaling that the conversation is over. It's time for her to dance, as she finds this place magical. With a sinister look, she plans to use her necromancer skill to control a summon user, creating her own endless army of marionettes. Light grips his sword tighter, unsure if he can win. He compares his Nutmaster skill to the taboo skills, thinking that, like those skills, he can have an endless amount of abilities since he can consume multiple fruits. He wonders if people will come to fear him if they learn the truth. He's reminded of the battle as a wave of black sludge makes its way toward him, forcing him to jump back. Ayla helps him stop overthinking the future, reminding him of the present. His only goal now is to protect Ayla, slashing another monster. Dratena flutters her fingers, controlling the threads as she's determined to eliminate them, with all the undead moving forward to attack. Light performs his sword god style, Surge Blade. Dratena is eager to see the move, but Light sticks his tongue out at her, having fooled her. He jumps up and declares he's not her opponent, with a dead serious Lena ready to end her. Seeing this, Dratena retreats, calling for the Soul Reaper to defend her. But it's too late, as Lena slashes through her boss monster. Disappearing into the air, Lena is serious as she tells the woman that she won't kill her, but she expects her to answer her questions. With the boss monster gone, this frees up Light to attack the undead Count. As a final move, the undead Count tries to summon something, with Dratena activating her skill, Agitato. A dark purple magic circle summons a menacing new boss monster. In a flash of light, the power from this new monster destroys all other undead in its presence. Dratena laughs hysterically, never expecting such a powerful undead dragon, but the dragon smacks her away, showing it won't be controlled by anyone. Ayla identifies this as the Wicked Dragon. They then look to Lena, who is able to recognize the creature as the highest level target for S-rank adventurers. The group is about to attack it head-on, but Ayla shouts at them that this is the worst idea possible, as it's resistant to slashing attacks. As the scales block all the sword attacks, Light is overconfident in his sword god skill, believing he can defeat it, but he's soon proven wrong when his sword breaks on impact. The dragon reacts with a shadow ball, forcing Light to dodge in mid-air. Light is shocked it didn't work, and Ayla tells him to listen to her. Ayla then comes up with an idea and hands Light a new nut to activate his Nut Master skill. Meanwhile, Dratena, looking utterly defeated, is picked up by a new figure who looks like he's from the Mad Max universe, ready to take her home after her failure. The dragon doesn't give them time to react, attacking them. Lena advises Light not to eat the fruit, as it could kill him. But Light tells her he's built differently as the Nut Master, being immune to the effects of death. Light eats the fruit, and a similar heartburn drops him to his knees. Lena has to keep the dragon's attention and wonders if he's okay. Light has Ayla check his new skill, and she reports that he's now resistant to bugs, making Light complain that she gave him the wrong fruit, forgetting that these skills are completely random. Lena's in trouble, so Light asks to eat 2 fruits at the same time, but Ayla is worried about what effect this could have on his body. Eventually, Light gets his way and starts chugging down the nuts, 2 at a time, causing the side effects to double as well. Eventually, Lena isn't able to keep up with the dragon, but at the last minute, Light gets a new skill called Sleep Pixie. He summons Tinkerbell, who can put anyone to sleep. No kidding. He decides to put the dragon to sleep, but the problem is that the dragon would thrash around, causing much of the building to collapse. Figuring the group needed to escape, he gets up close to the dragon's face, and Tinkerbell puts it to sleep, telling everyone to run while he does so. On the way out of the mansion, he grabs a scale from the dragon as a sign of defeating it. The group hurries back to town to collect their reward and enjoy good food. All the while, Light is in deep pain, but hides it. Once the gates open for them, he collapses, having been poisoned.